Good evening, Chris from the Headache and Pain Management Centre here for a special Thursday afternoon Facebook Live video. If you're joining me on a commute home, type in below and say hello. Happy to answer any questions that we have on the way through. So yes, you're sitting here in my office this afternoon after seeing a number of patients today. There was a case that came in which I haven't really discussed much on the video before, and the case is actually called cluster headache, and I thought I'd go through what cluster headache is and whether or not physio is able to help. So it's good for people that have this really debilitating condition to know as much as they can about it so they can make the best treatment option. So cluster headache, look, cluster headache is one of the nastiest pains known to man, quite frankly. Pretty much what happens is that when you have this pain, it's like a stab in behind the eye. It feels like a red hot poker. You can have a watery eye, teary eye, runny nose. It is excruciatingly painful. It commonly occurs in men more than women, sort of more 80%, 20%, which is different to people, different to the migraine prevalence. So cluster headache is very much of the domain of a male condition, but we have seen females with it before. It's characterised by this really sharp, stabbing pain that lasts between 15 to 90 minutes in the face and the eye, and it can last, for that long, and it can happen 4 to 8 times a day at times as well. So some people get it only twice a day, once a day. Others can get it even 4, 5, 8 times a day. G'day, Belinda. Good to see you there. And basically, what happens is that these cluster headaches can actually come on that many times a day, and it seems to happen. The reason why it's called a cluster is it can happen for only sort of 5 to 8 weeks at a time. And then they go as quickly as they came, and you've got what's called a remission period for a little while, and then all of a sudden it comes in once again, and you've got those cluster headaches once again. So it seems to be hitting unpredictably for these poor people that have this condition, and then we obviously have some patients which are very unlucky that have cluster headaches constantly. So they get them once or twice a day, and there is no respite. And I can tell you what, these patients aren't going all that great. It affects work, it affects family, and because of the way that cluster headache operates, it's unpredictable. So there's just this blind fear and panic when these headaches come on. At the moment, what the current treatments medically for this are things like oxygen, like 100% pure oxygen that you take can often help. There's really nasty painkillers called verapamil, or even topiramate might be one, like Topamax, and even some other things like prednisolone, like a really strong steroid to help out the pain, because the pain is just so terrible. However, what we know about cluster headache is that even though the pain is really, really excruciating, so the worst pain known to man is reported sometimes in the literature about this, basically what happens is that it's effectively the same process as getting a tension headache or a migraine, but for some reason on these patients, their brain decides that it needs to be this cluster headache type presentation. So instead of like a tension type headache across the forehead or one side or in the temple, instead of having sort of the throbby, pulsy type pain that you'd have with a migraine, instead what happens is it stabs them in the eye, stabs them in the face, and it goes as quickly as it comes. There hasn't been, well, there probably is more research than what I've read, but basically what I think is going on is there's a different, if you like, genetic marker that's causing this to happen on people with cluster headache, as opposed to people who get migraines or tension headache, or people who just get neck pain. I guess the take-home message is for all of this is that cluster headache, even though it's really, really painful, can actually come from your neck. It can actually be a referred pain coming from the back of your neck, or even a muscle down the front called sternocleidomastoid. And the way that the brain processes that sensory input coming from the front of your neck and the back of your neck is output differently for people with cluster headache as compared to people with migraine or tension type headache. Now, of course, cluster headache is, it is one of these things where it should be assessed first by a doctor to make sure there isn't anything more nasty going on, because they are symptoms that do resemble things like strokes and things that are very dangerous. So it's very important, if you suspect that you do have these symptoms, or you do have them and haven't been checked out, very important to get that checked out by a GP first up. Once that's been cleared, then basically having your neck checked is a second port of call. And basically what we find is that the pain, it generally doesn't swap around. It's usually behind just the one eye. And what we find is that the joint on that adjacent side is stiff, is tender, and is referring pain, or at least causing the pain to happen in the eye. Then when you start treating that joint, the duration of the headaches go down, the number of headaches can go down. You can find that medication starts to work again, and of course the intensity goes down, so it's not any longer, you know, an 18 out of 10 pain that's in behind your eye, but rather sort of down to a 4 or 5, where a Panadol or Nurofen may actually start to take hold, or even, you know, a codeine, because with these patients, you know, no painkiller even touches the sides. It's really, really nasty. So look, if there is people with cluster headache out there, feel free to type in below and share the video with them, because there is hope for them. I don't make promises I can't keep, so I'm not going to say that I treat every single person and get a successful outcome every single time, but more often than not we do, and we find that there is an issue with the top of the neck, which is causing the pain into the eye and the face. I guess the only way to find out is to get it assessed and have a look with one of our team to see if it is appropriate to get your neck treated for cluster headache. It's certainly appropriate to get assessed, because we don't know unless we check. But obviously in terms of treatment, we want to make sure that we're doing the right things, and we're making sure that we're treating the neck only when it's appropriate when it comes to cluster type headache. I hope that's been helpful. If there's any questions in the comments below, please type them in. Also tag, share and like as always. If there's any suggestions about anything else for further videos, please let me know as well, either in the comments and the messages. I'll be back tomorrow. Actually, I've got a special video coming from a different state in Australia tomorrow. I'm visiting a different clinic interstate, so I might even do a Facebook video from down there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.